Dr. Patel, you know I was going to you first. Your reaction to RFK Jr. as Donald Trump's pick for HHS Secretary, what does it mean?
Shock and awe. I mean, those are probably no truer words spoken because it's still unbelievable. It feels, Stephanie, like I'm watching some movie that is just playing on the outside and it's fiction and I'll wake up, but it's real. And it's something that I think can affect every American, whether you think it can or not. It's just such a critical role in healthcare and public health. And the idea that this person is now going to be kind of the ambassador to the world for all of our health issues is troubling.
Charlotte, this is a huge department. Like, I want people to understand he is going to be in charge of a nearly $2 trillion budget. He doesn't actually have a background in medicine. He's an environmental attorney. How is this going to work out?
So I think the thing that I'm going to be watching for is less how he actually manages this department and more what his sort of history of espousing these conspiracy theories means for public trust in our nation's health establishment.
And we already have a trust issue.
Right. And I think that trust issue started during COVID, and there's, you know, sort of a lot of polarization of basic health facts. And I think that's just going to continue. And I think that's going to have serious public health implications for everybody in this country.
Dr. Patel, can you just explain for us everything that HHS does? Like, what are all the things that fall under its umbrella?
Yeah, 11 agencies of incredible significance, everything from the Centers for Disease Control, so chronic disease surveillance and monitoring and all the public health emergency activities that the CDC does. Along with that, the Food and Drug Administration, that's the direct target, I think, for RFK's comments and what the president-elect reiterated today. But a lot of people forget Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. Steph, that's CMS. That is the largest kind of public insurer alongside the Veterans Program. So that's a big agency. And then on top of that, the National Institutes of Health, the Public Health Service, the Medical Reserve Corps, the Surgeon General's office. The list goes on. The HHS secretary has incredible authority to declare public health emergencies. They can lift restrictions on drugs. They can put in restrictions on drugs. They can override decisions from advisory committees. So this is really a key role. And the only thing I can hope for, Steph, the only thing I can hope for is that Senate confirmation will be tricky and that it'll be very hard to put him in this role.
Well, the person who might know a bit about that is McKay. Take us inside the Hill. What are you hearing from Republicans about this pick?
Yeah, you know, I was actually just texting before we went on air here with a senior Republican who has spent a lot of time on the Hill. And I asked him, so far, just kind of as a gut check, are these picks that Trump's made better, worse, or about the same as what you expected? And he said, you know, there's this weird dynamic right now among Republicans on the Hill, which is that even the kind of old guard Republicans, the ones who are more Trump-averse, Trump skeptical, have been so exhausted and are so kind of afraid of voicing any discontent or dissent that there's really just no appetite for opposition to Trump. He said, you know, I'll be honest, the picks are worse than I thought they would be, but I'm kind of suffering in solitude here. At least that's how this one source feels. And I do get the sense that while there is, you know, certainly an amount of alarm about these picks, RFK, Matt Gaetz, Tulsi Gabbard, I'm just not sure how much appetite there is for real opposition after Trump just won pretty decisively this last election.
All right, well, Peter, you get to pat yourself on the back because it was less than a week ago you were sitting right next to me and you predicted two of the first picks would be RFK Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard. What are your thoughts on that now?
Well, you were looking for a gesture to see if Trump might be bipartisan by putting a Democrat in his cabinet the way George W. Bush put a Democrat in his cabinet, the way Barack Obama put a Republican in his cabinet, and so on and so forth. But these are not obviously Democrats that the rest of the Democratic Party actually embraces. They're not really mainstream Democrats by any stretch. RFK Jr., obviously, as you've outlined pretty extensively, is a pretty marginal figure in his party with non-mainstream views of medical science. Tulsi Gabbard has espoused arguments that the Russians made when it comes to Ukraine. In fact, the Russians are so enamored of her that she was famously called on Russian state television our girlfriend, somebody who has, met with the Syrian dictator, somebody who has been outside of the mainstream of American foreign policy, but maybe in the mainstream of Donald Trump's cabinet. So I think that, what you're seeing is, in some ways, a new president coming in who's testing the boundaries. He's trying to see, okay, how far can I go? Will you actually stop me to these Senate Republicans? To McKay's point, they may not. They may, in fact, defer to him because he did win the election and he is their president. But in a normal Senate, in a normal time, the names we've just talked about, none of them would have been confirmable. The idea that you would have somebody investigated for child sex trafficking be in charge of the Justice Department, unthinkable. This is a different time.
McKay, the conversation Peter is talking about, the two and I were talking just on Friday night. Could this be Donald Trump's moment? Because it wasn't just a MAGA win. The majority of Americans said we've moved to the right. Could this be a moment where he moves to the center? But the Bulwark is reporting that Trump actually wants this fight. He really wants Gates in a position to, investigate the investigators and magnify the DOJ. Even if he doesn't get it, can we officially put to bed this idea that Donald Trump, that this talk that Donald Trump is moving to the center? Because I can tell you, every person that I talked to in the Mar-a-Lago set in the last week keeps saying to me, oh, just wait, Stephanie, he's going to be governing for all. But with these picks, I don't know.
I feel like we've been talking about the future Trump pivot to the center for 9 years now, and it's never happened. And I think we need to wake up to that. Anyone who's still waiting for it, I do think the Gates pick is worth just dwelling on for 1 second, because to the point you were just making about what the Bulwark said, set aside all the allegations and the investigations around Matt Gaetz. It's worth remembering that he is grossly unqualified for the job. I mean, he has no prosecutorial experience, astonishingly little experience as an attorney at all. He would, by most metrics, be the most inexperienced person to hold that job, certainly in the modern era. So what is his credential? It's his absolute willingness to obey Trump, unburdened by any idea of what the Justice Department is supposed to be or how it's supposed to behave. And when I was reporting a year ago on names that were being circulated for DOJ, I was hearing people like Josh Hawley, Ted Cruz, Jeffrey Clark. And I remember some kind of more old guard Republican sources telling me, no, that's kind of a liberal fever dream. Those people are far too unserious and extreme. Trump would never name them. Matt Gaetz is far more unserious, far more extreme, far more unqualified than any of those people. And so we have to be pretty clear-eyed about why Trump would pick him. And it's to be his enforcer. It's to be the person he can use to weaponize the DOJ, as he has alluded to throughout this past campaign.
Or potentially to help him avoid this House Ethics Committee and this report, Charlotte. What do we know about this meeting being canceled? Because whether or not he's a current congressperson or up to be the attorney general, I think the American people would want to know what's in that report.
I would be very surprised if we don't hear more from what's in this report soon. I mean, already there are senators sniffing around it. Already, I would assume it's probably being leaked if it hasn't been already. And I would be really surprised if that stays totally in the dark throughout these confirmation hearings.